Hi everyone, I'm Darshana. Um, so this is also based on a video that I did earlier in Sinhala. I was inspired to do this after watching this exchange between Ravi Zacharias. So Ravi Zacharias, you may have heard of him. He was actually passed away recently. He was leading Christian apologetic in the US, and I think he was born in India, and around when he was around 18 years old, I guess he was severely depressed and suicidal, and then apparently he was introduced to the Bible by some missionary, and afterwards he had migrated to the US and had become a Christian apologetic. So now the so in this exchange he actually he gets a question from the audience, where so the audience member is also from a kind of academic background. I think he is apparently a computer science professor. So he asked me, so the question is as follows. So I guess he's a materialist, he is someone with a materialistic worldview. The question is, since in Christianity and maybe in Abrahamic religions in general, the God is a omnipotent being that knows everything that's going to happen, that has power over everything. So when God gives life, God creates us, right? So he has a plan for each and every human being, and that plan is kind of predetermined, right? So, and at the same time, Christianity says that after you die, you will when your physical body dies, there will be some kind of a judgment where you will be judged based on your actions, right? So the question is kind of a moral argument, where is it just to judge your own creation? Because when you create, you have the control to create maybe wholesome being. I mean, you can basically create someone as someone who's flawless, right? And if you know what's going to happen, if God knows what's going to happen, then is there free will to do what you want? And if there's no free will, then is it fair to judge someone, right? I mean, you are creating your own, you are basically judging your own creation, and then punishing them or rewarding them for it, right? So so the key argument, I guess, is so I'll come back to that in a moment. But so Ravi's response is, again, I mean, he responds with another question, asking that in materialism, in philosophical materialism, that it too has so if you think that all phenomena is reducible to a material cause, then, I mean, including the mind and consciousness and our thought process can be reduced to some kind of a brain function, which is the current mainstream view in neuroscience, as well, I guess, as well as that is the view in the materialistic, or it's kind of a derivative of the materialistic worldview. Then you are basically programmed to do whatever that you do, whatever that you think, is based on your genetic makeup and also your external inputs and experience that you gain over your life. So it's not really, there's no real free will after all, to really look at it. So even the person who's asking the question admits that he doesn't believe in free will. So then Ravi's question is, so if there's no free will, how can you claim that objective claim that all phenomena have a material cause? Because that's not a subjective claim, that's an objective claim. But if there's no free will, and if we are just predetermined to think what you think, we can we can never make any objective claim, much less this particular objective claim. You can never make any objective claim, including the claim that all phenomena can be reduced to material cause, right? So which is a basic axiom, I guess, in the materialistic worldview. So it's kind of these math problems where you start with some assumption, and then you kind of try to solve it and maybe try to derive some result, and if the result contradicts with the original assumption, then you know that the original assumption is false. So I guess it's that kind of an argument by Ravi, that if so the key argument is, if there's no free will, which is a argument that we can derive from the materialistic worldview, right? That is the outcome, that is one outcome of the materialistic worldview, that there cannot be free will, right? Everyone is kind of programmed. Maybe it's not so much deterministic, I guess. But you could say it's deterministic. If you know all the causes, you can predict what a person is going to do. But key argument is that there's no free will, so they are bound to their subjectivity, their subjective view, because of the genetic makeup and the external experience. So then you can never make an objective claim, including the claim that the basic tenant in basic objective tenant in the materialistic worldview. So that I thought that's a interesting argument, and well, I couldn't find any counter argument in my head. Maybe you have some ideas on how to counter that argument, if you believe in the materialistic philosophy, or if you might not be a materialist, but you can we can assume that from that point of view, how can you counter that argument? So I think it's a pretty neat argument, right? At the same time, I think I'm not really sure. I'm skeptical whether Ravi actually answered the original question as well, because I think the question, the original question too, has some validity. That so this argument of subjectivity, if I add something more to the previous point, the I think prominent materialists like Richard Dawkins have like openly claimed that in his book The Selfish Gene. I'll add the link to in the description, that we are just robots, right? We may be very complex robots, but we are just robots that are programmed to survive, that's all. So there's nothing more to that. But when you say that, you kind of accept the subject, there can't be anything more than subjectivity, right? Because the robot can be programmed to do anything, but it's just acting based on its programming, right? It can't make an objective claim or anything. So same applies for us. So if you accept that view, so yeah, then you come back to that same original, like there's a conflict with the original assumption, so there can be a contradiction. The other thing is that whether the original question of that from that audience member is also a valid question, I think, because I think his claim is you can't claim both at once. That is, you can't claim that that a person's future is determined like based on a plan by God, and then you can judge him, right? You can't claim both, right? If you are going to judge him, then that person really should have free will. In a sense, I guess Ravi too accepts that there is free will, but then you whether you can claim that God is omnipotent, right? Because if God is omnipotent, that means he has total knowledge, total control over what's going to happen throughout a person's life. Then the person doesn't have free will. But if the person has free will, that is, if that person is free to choose, then God should know what's going to happen, right? I mean, maybe that person will do something that the God did not expect, right? He will do something that will surprise God, right? uh, because that's what free will means after all, right? You can't really control what a person is going to do. So when you, if you accept that there's free will, a person has free will, then whether, I mean, it begs the question whether uh, God is actually omnipotent. I guess in Abrahamic religions that is a basic assumption that God is omnipotent. So I mean, I'm not an expert in Abrahamic religion, but if you have an explanation for that as well, I guess you can comment. Okay, so that's what I just wanted to share, this exchange. I thought it's a very interesting and it's a very nice exchange as well, very um, a very civil discussion, but it raises some important questions to both these theistic view, right? Particularly the Abrahamic view of the Abrahamic religions of God and judgment and free will and those things, and on the other hand, I guess so that's a moral question, I guess. Yeah, when you question when you question whether God is omnipotent, then it's more fundamental question. But the other question raised by Ravi is a more fundamental question about the materialistic worldview, that whether it has an inherent contradiction um, with its claim that, with its supposed this um, its original claim that there can only be a material cause for all phenomena, which is objective claim, and the kind of indirect admission of that there can be only subjectivity, because I don't think those who really believe in materialism think that we can only have subjective views, but their assumptions actually lead to that is that conclusion, right? If you like infer based on their assumptions, that's the ultimate conclusion, that there cannot be anything other than subjectivity, total subjectivity. uh, if you think of in terms of a human perception and human thought and human concept consciousness, right? So but then there's a violation with that conclusion, with the original assumption, right? So just let me know what you think, and thanks for viewing, and we'll join again with a similar video. Thank you.